and it looks like I'm the queen. The wind is howling like the swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I tried. Don't let them in, don't let them see. Be the good girl you always have to be. Don't feel, don't let them know. Well, now they know. Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. No, it doesn't bother me anyway. What's up, dude?
And I know that you sing to everyone that you interview, so you'd think that it wouldn't be, oh yeah, catch anyone off guard. But no, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think you have to come up with a more aggressive way to break the ice. That's a little less subtle, I mean, just really put yourself out there, Darius.
Oh, guys, welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh. And boy, do we have a freaking amazing show today with my man, my friend, my former coach, but always coach, Angelo Poli. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, buddy. It's great to be here.
Oh, dude, that was literally a Greatness Machine first, me singing Let It Go from Frozen. Wow. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy that.
Well, okay.
Guys, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things: people living their passions and those who are creating greatness in the world. And my man Angelo is neither short of passion nor greatness. So we're going to be chopping it up here in just a second. But Angelo, do you mind if I give a little bit of our background, our history, if you will?
Do it. Absolutely.
I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, I don't remember how I found you. But it was a very important find nonetheless. It was very life-changing for me. Somehow, were you always advertising MetPro on social media? Was that maybe how I found you?
We've done that off and on over the years. Yeah. So I mean, that could very well be.
I think it was. I think there was some promotion. It was this thing where it's like CEOs getting into the best shape of their life, and you had a couple of people that were men that had done it, and I clicked into it, and it was this scientific approach to metabolism, and I was 363 pounds of beef, and I was like, man, I need to and I was 38, and I was borderline, diabetic, and I had high blood pressure, and I used to have it. I don't know if you can see it now, but I used to have black over which is insulin, excess insulin. So I was having health problems for the first time in my life from being a big dude. And so when you're a big dude, people are like, oh, you're just a big dude, you're just big, man. And which is cool. I mean, my heart and my joints didn't give a fuck. They're just yeah, we'd be happy if you weren't a big dude. And my insulin, didn't care. So I got to the point, and you and I talked about this, where I'm like, Angelo, I don't want to die. I don't want to die, man. And so I found Angelo. And I was like, this is a guy that hacks, basically works with people to works directly with the metabolism. And he coaches some amazing people. You were doing Aaron Rodgers and all these athletes and celebrities and CEOs. And I was like, man, I'm just going to work with the best and we'll see what happens. Right. And so, fast forward to us, we worked together for 9 months. And then my wife got sick. And I called Angelo up, and I lost about 40 pounds. And you were just like, dude, I'm just gonna, I'll let. I don't want to tell the whole punchline of the story, but basically, I took a little break because my wife got sick, and I'm like, hey man, just put me on a maintenance diet. And then and we had some pretty good success together, but I needed a break because I had to deal with my wife's health issue, and me being on this hardcore program wasn't serving at the moment. And I gained 40 pounds back in 6 weeks or something. It was some insane number, right? Where I was like, what the hell? And at that point, I made the decision to get weight loss surgery, which now I look like this felt amazing human being that I look like today. But I said to myself, and you'll appreciate this. I told you this story, but I want the audience to hear it. I was like, if I worked with Angelo Poli, and we haven't even talked about what you and I did. This is like daily. I mean, dude, I did this thing with Angelo, guys, where I did 24 hours a week of workouts in 1 week, and it wasn't at his suggestion; it was at mine.
Yeah, make sure you clarify where the crazy is coming from here, Darius.
Yeah, you were like, I guess I'll support you on that if you want to, dude. Like, really? It was like 6 hours a day of me working out. And Angela's, you were cool with it, but you were just like, oh yeah, sure, man, I'll go along with your crazy, which is a really great way of describing it. So we were doing all this crazy stuff. But yeah, I was like, look, if I just done all this and my body I was on a maintenance diet, meal prepping and working out, and I gained all the weight back. And I was like, yeah, that's not normal. This is like health. This is like broken foundation, right? So I got surgery after that. But anyway, man, here we are now.
So, I mean, just so to speak to that. So first of all, don't ever say it like that this was in any way, shape, or form a failure. There are so many good tools out there. Take advantage of what health and science has to offer. The key is the right tool for the right person in the right time. I've had success with clients, obviously, that have done a different route. I've had success with clients that have found surgical intervention as an incredible tool. I've had success with clients who have previously had surgery to help them, and now their metabolism, their body, their circumstances at a totally different spot, and they are setting a whole new series of goals. So, just, there's never a right or wrong. And as we visit today, you guys will probably get to hear that's kind of the absolute opposite of my whole shtick, and my belief process is individualization. What works for one person, unfortunately, is unlikely to work for you. And analytics and science has proven that out time and time again. That's where we got to really dig in and get granular with action steps. What works for you?
Yeah, no, it's interesting when because especially after I got surgery, a lot of people were like, well, first of all, I was a lucky overweight person. I'm going to tell you why I think I was a lucky overweight person, and you'll probably agree. That I was such a beast of an athlete growing up, and I found this picture of me the other day, which was when I was standing in front of my freshman dorm, and I had a 21-inch neck. Like it wasn't like, it was just like muscle neck, right? And I was like, dude, I had so much like lean body mass that the minute I was able to intervene and create a massive amount of contrast in the body weight, and because I was endomorph. Am I endomorph or ectomorph?
Definitely endomorph, buddy.
Yeah, I'm hardcore endomorph. So yeah, an endomorph when they have a 21-inch calf, but now they're 18 inches, so they've shrunk a bit. When you lose 153 pounds and you only lose 3 inches on your calves, you're an endomorph. No, but I will say I was lucky in that when I did the medical intervention, I had this massive contrast because when you amputate your stomach, like, dude, you just like, I don't care if you want to or not, it's hard to eat, right? And so when that happened, that created a physiological situation where there was just contrast, and the weight flew off. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing was I had so much lean body mass. My lean body mass only went from like 232 to like 183. I only lost 30 pounds of muscle.
And we want to emphasize that, that wasn't, everybody has a genetic predisposition, but that wasn't there just by osmosis. That was there because you put in the work to have it there.
Dude, I even when I was sick, right? Because I do consider when I was overweight that it was a sickness, it was a disease, right? That's a topic for later on in the conversation around the discrimination around obesity, right? I had the sickness of obesity, and I firmly believe it's a sickness for a lot of people. to your point, dude, I was like always eating healthy, always working out. I put in so much effort into like, dude, I still love it. I love working out. It's like my favorite thing to do. So to your point, like, yeah, that was, I don't know. I want to guess 5,000 hours of effort. It was a lot of, that didn't come accidentally, right? That came from a lot of effort. And so the minute the weight came off, like, yeah, I had a strong foundation, right? And what that has allowed me to do, which goes to the whole MetPro, thesis, is like, man, dude, now that I've taken the weight off, it's pretty easy for me to keep it off. Like, I don't have to try very hard to keep it off. And a lot of folks, when they lose weight, they lose the wrong weight, they lose their muscle mass, they starve themselves. They don't have a good they don't have, a large amount of lean body mass to begin with. And then they lose weight, and then they're a frail version of themselves essentially. And their metabolism gets jacked up because they don't have the right, again, the foundation's broken still. And whether their eating habits change or whatever is a different conversation. But yeah, that for me, so it was interesting to go through the whole MetPro experience, and then to have a new, but to have that learning and understanding, and then to actually be able to leverage it in a new body has been different. It's been cool. I mean, I drink a lot more alcohol, which is not part of the MetPro. That's not part. Hey guys, Angelo does not promote MetPro to drink alcohol. That's not part of the plan.
Okay, so here's the deal. I have lots and lots of clients that I say, hey, let's drink a little less often on the weekends, and then they laugh me off the stage. And guess what? We still get great results. It's not about do this, don't do that. In fact, I really prefer to even define it as, instead of being at a certain weight, being at a certain meal on a certain meal plan or exercise regime, more specifically, it's an understanding of how your body in real time is responding. Because what's the definition of insanity? It's trying the same thing over and over and getting the same result.
Totally.
And for most people, it's not. So physiologically, Darius, you represent, that 2%. So most people listening are not going to have your experience on one side or the other. They're not going to have as hard a time losing weight. They're not going to have as big a transformation and as big a swing with the success either. Most people are going to be somewhere in between. But what most people are searching for is a way to not waste time.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, and this is a little bit of a pet peeve, and maybe a misrepresentation, but generally speaking in the industry, there's this concept: if somebody is not at their best self, whatever that means to you, it's because they don't have willpower, they don't have, they're not willing to put in the effort, it's too much work for them. That has not been my experience. I've dieted about 20,000 people in my career. So I've done this a couple times. Don't get me wrong. There are a few where we've had to have the conversation. We need to get moving. We need to put in more effort. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. By far, the reason for people not getting the transformative results they're looking for through diet and exercise is not a lack of willpower or effort. It's simply a lack of either the results they're expecting or the understanding of how their body is responding. One of my mentors taught me something that in the coaching world I felt is very valuable, and that is, there is nothing that motivates human beings more than seeing progress.
Right.
When you go online and you Google, how do I lose 15 pounds? You're going to get 10,000 different answers. And I mean answers from 10,000 different experts. And not a one of them can agree. I'll tell you the secret right now. Every one of them is right. That's the problem. It's not that you have one that's telling the truth and a bunch of snake oil salesmen. All of them are right. They're not all applicable to you. In fact, in most cases, there's going to be a very clear, with some analytics and some strategy, differentiation between what's going to be effective and what's only going to be marginal for you. And what do? Well, we look at the guy behind us. So we go to our neighbor and we say, well, you look good, or you did a program that worked well for you. That must be a good program. That's the wrong measuring stick. Never measure based on how someone else's body responds. Your body is unique, and it's not hard to measure. There's actually a very simple way we can baseline test, figure out where you're at, get it right, and we can deliver good news, or we can deliver bad news. Whatever the news is, let's get accurate news so we're not wasting time. We're doing the right exercise, the right nutrition.
So let me ask a quick question. Going back, so because this kind of lends way to this. There's this whole movement right now where they're showing like, overweight models and stuff like that. And I've been stuck on some of these social media threads where people are just fucking disgusted. Like they're just talking shit. And they're like, why are they promoting this? This is so disgusting. And like just the words they choose are interesting because, and most of them, I can guarantee you 99% of them are normal bodied human beings that have never really dealt with this. And to them, it's just, they just think it's gross for whatever reason. And I actually don't have an opinion either way. I do think that there's something around people accepting each other, and there's, and I also think there's an argument to be made that, hey, like if we wouldn't be promoting cancer as a thing, and if we're saying obesity is a sickness, then are we promoting that? I get that there's different mindsets around that. The thing you said earlier that I wanted to kind of lean in on, which is human beings, you have a small percentage that they don't have the willpower. Out of your 20,000, if you had to guess, what percentage of them don't have the actual willpower? They are that lazy group that just doesn't want to do it.
Minuscule.
Like under 5%, 3%, 1%?
Yeah, in that range. It's a minuscule amount. Because what happens is it's always in degrees. So you can go and you can start an exercise, and it's whatever your goal is. Everyone's goal is different. So there's no right or no wrong. What there is effective or non-effective. I get people that are hiring us to put on size. I had a gal that hired us. She was going on one of those deserted island shows where she's going to be, survival 21 days, nothing. She hired me to slow her metabolic rate so she wouldn't get low blood sugar and headaches and, feel horrible while she's going 21 days foraging, right?
How did that? I was your client when she was your client.
When I was working
with her, how did that work out for her?
She crushed it. She did great. It was one of those Discovery Health shows. Her partner that was with her, he had a lot of problems apparently.
Yeah, that lame ass didn't slow his metabolism down before.
But she did excellent. So she made it. And then when she got back, we worked on her metabolism again, just bringing her back into the range of normal again. You see, so it's never about, everybody needs to be at this weight, look this way, or any specific thing. Here's what bothers me is when somebody says, here is my goals, but then they're doing a lot of things that unbeknownst to them are not directly correlative to achieving those directives, those ideals, those specific goals. That's where we get frustrated and people throw in the towel. It's not, I'm not willing to do this work. It reaches a threshold where I'm eating clean. I'm exercising regularly. I lost 5 pounds the first week. That was awesome. Okay, now fast forward 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Now I'm doing all those things, but I'm losing half a pound in that week. Guess what I'm going to do? Eventually, I'm going to throw in the towel and say, it's not worth it. Right. If I'm not understanding where I am in the scheme of things and I don't see next steps. And that's where the strategy comes in. Whether you're trying to gain weight, put on muscles, hit PRs, perform better, or simply feel better. Simply feel better. Whatever is right for your body to live your best life and healthiest life, you want to make sure that we're not wasting time. And this is what I talk a lot about with the executive crowd and basically the professionals or anyone really who's just busy in life. When I ask someone, okay, show me your routine. I want to see what you're eating, how you're exercising. And they say, well, what could I do if I just want one takeaway strategy that doesn't require any technical work or any expert? Here's what it is. Write down your exercise routine, if you have one. Write down your nutrition, and then write down your goal. But keep your goal separate. Take it to one of your friends. Show your next door neighbor and say, hey, Johnny, here's what I'm eating. Here's what I'm doing. What do you think I'm trying to accomplish?
He's like, you're trying to get fat, dumbass.
you're trying to do the. So it doesn't take an expert to look at it and say, this program has an identity crisis. Or, oh, no, it's obvious what you're trying to do here. You're trying to improve your endurance athletics. You're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to build muscle. Does your program have an identity crisis? Because if it's not specific, you're probably not going to be moving the dial in the direction you want quick enough. Result. That's the key. Got to get results.
Well, and so I think to your point is we tend to get like motivation is fleeting. To your point, right? It's motivation is one of those things that needs that next like kickstart to get to the next goal, right? And so it's easy to like, dude, I got 20 pounds to lose, right? Let's just pick a number. It's easy for me to be like, all right, I'm going to eat a clean diet this week, and I'm going to work out an hour a day, 6 days this week, and I'm not drinking any alcohol, and I'm not eating any sugar, and I'm not going to have any fun at all. No cheat meals, nothing. Like, we can all do that for like, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even 10 weeks, 12 weeks. But at a certain point, you're just like most people. Now, there are definitely people that, you know, especially I know lots of them. I mean, like I've been in the camp before where it's like, I went 12 weeks without one carb, but literally without 1 gram of carbohydrates for 12 weeks.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I was like, I swear to God, I didn't eat I think it was like trace carbs, right? Like and Angelo knows this about me. I'm kind of a maniac, right? Like I can do shit that a lot of people probably wouldn't put themselves through. But I did that, and I was like, you know, and I got really good results until I didn't. I'm going to use myself as a case study here. Not, dude, keto, man. You got to go do keto, and I'm like, dude, I've done everything. Like you name it, I've done it. And so I did that where I went 12 weeks, not one carb. Dude, I got so creative, Angelo. I was making fried cheese. I was making fried cheese. I was making fried cheese taco shells and putting ground beef and bacon inside of them. This is Atkins.
So this might surprise you, Darius. This might surprise you. So, and I would say this has even shifted just in the last decade. I get less calls, people asking my team and I saying, well, I was thinking about trying keto, or I was thinking about going vegetarian, or I was thinking about intermittent fasting, or I was thinking about a paleo style diet, or I was thinking about limiting this or adjusting that, and what do you think? That's not the conversation I have. You know what the conversation is?
But was that the case 2 or 3 years ago? More of that?
A little more than that. I would say more like a decade ago, that was the case. Is I've heard of all these different approaches. What do you think I should do? Now the phone call is, hey, Angelo. So I did keto. I did intermittent fasting. I did calorie control. I did carb cycling. I did this. I did that. I tried all of them. I tried them all twice. Now what do I do, and how do I make it sustainable? And which one worked? Well, they all worked. I say, but here I am. So how do we get to the root of the problem? And that is a sports nutrition approach, an athletic approach, and actually addressing the metabolism and tracking it individually. So you just presented me, now rewinding a second, you just presented me an all-in scenario. You presented that basically expecting me to say, don't go all in. What you need to do is build a habit and lifestyle. And that's all true. But sometimes I have a client in his circumstance and where he's at, I tell him, I want you to go all in. Sometimes there is that circumstance. You are good at that. When you went all in, we had these stints, right? And you'd move the dial and that would get you motivated. And sometimes you have to do it in stints like that because you can't be running at, full throttle 24/7, 365 days a year. You can't do that.
No.
So there is some strategy to it. The question is, how do we know when? How do we know when to manipulate your carbs versus calories? How do we know when to time gate meals or to spread meals out or to add extra meals? How do we know when the best time to do hey, next 5 days, we're going to hit the weights hard, or we're going to back off on the weight training and hit more cardio? So the big picture levers. So when I'll get an athlete calling me, and this is where kind of going back to that intention, and we want to be able to accomplish what we're setting out. I'll have an athlete call me and he'll tell me, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'll say, let me look at your program. And I'll look at his program. It's filled with great stuff. Maybe this athlete's training 12 to 14 hours a week. I mean, this could be a pro athlete even.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking at, the program that some of his, team trainers are doing. I'm like scratching my head going, what are these guys thinking? This is all wrong. No, they're all great. But I take my red pen out and I go, here's what we're not doing, here's what we're not doing, and here's what we're doing more of. Why? Because I'm going to evaluate things with the end goal in mind. Here's the goal you've told me you have. Now, when I go through your routine out of the week, of those 14 hours of awesome training you're doing, 3 hours are directly correlative to that goal. The rest are all awesome, they're helping you, but they're accessory, they're auxiliary to it. And most people, when they hit a plateau because there isn't enough specificity in their nutrition and training to push beyond it. They'll usually see some results until their body gets used to a good general routine. And when it comes time to now have to specialize, that's where most people, even fitness enthusiasts, will start scratching their head on what they have to do next. Because the answer is not go all in on this one thing for the rest of your life, but the answer may be go all in on one or two things for a time until we pass this threshold and then circle back to it. So that's where the specificity, and if I were to pull back the curtains and say, okay, at MetPro, here's what our experts will do. It's not here's the meal plan, here's the exercise routine. There's 1,000,001 programs out there like that. That's not what we do. We start with an evaluation of the person. And the first thing we do is we ask about goals, but not for the reason most people think. A goal setting session with me looks very different than probably what you'd expect. A goal setting session with me that really satisfies me is about figuring out what you're doing now that we're cutting out. It's about slashing things. It's about here's all the things we're not going to do, because we need to get hyper focused on the elements that are going to be most relevant, which, by the way, spoiler alert, that's going to put nutrition squarely at the top of your list. But the items that are going to be the most relevant to move the dial in the direction that you want. So it's not a matter of we ignore things. It's a matter of check one thing off the list. Once we accomplish that, then we can move on to the next, the next, the next. I mean, super common conversation. I'll talk with a type A personality executive who just, he's a driver or she's a driver, just goes. And he'll say to me, Angelo, I want to bench my body weight. I want to run a sub 6 minute mile and I want to lose 40 pounds. Can you help me do that? Sure. Which one do you want to do first? Because if you go down to the quarter gym and you tell Bob the trainer is going to help you do all of them at the same time, probably you're not going to achieve any of them. Yeah. But you've got real good odds if we make a priority list. Let's get specific enough to check that box. And then we do the next one, the next one, the next one. And now boiling it down to weight loss. And I pick weight loss not by my thought. I'm a sports nutrition. I got into this because I loved performance, physique transformations, the ability for a human to manipulate their body aesthetically and performance. But guess what? 85% of people call me are asking for
weight loss. Yeah.
Because it's not that the nutrition is more important than the exercise. It's not that the macronutrients are more relevant than your sleep cycles. It's not any of these hierarchies of health and priority. It really can be summed up by encapsulating it this way. Your metabolism is the most mysterious element of the process of transforming, because we are human beings used to some level of parity. I'm a human, you're a human. I have 2 hands, you have 2 hands, I have 2 feet, you have 2 feet. Basically there's some level of parity. But when it comes to metabolism, I'm here to tell you, it is not fair.
Spectrum. Yeah. I was watching this thing. It was I can't remember. It was on HBO back when the Floyd Mayweather, right?
Yeah.
He was training for a fight, and then he's a pretty big character, and they're showing his training camp, and his dad, who was I think he was a champ at one point, Floyd Mayweather Sr., was talking about what he does for diet. Do you know? Have you heard of this before?
No, I haven't heard of this one. I'm edge of my seat. What is he?
Oh man! So Floyd Mayweather Sr. is dude, the guy is freaking probably he was in his 50s at this point, or maybe even early 60s, but I think he was in his 50s. Was just shredded, he's 8-pack,
right?
Just the guy is just a specimen, right? dude, his diet consisted of Taco Bell, Popeye's chicken, dude. It was one fast food, donuts, ho-hos, ding-dong. It was literally the laundry list of the worst fucking food you could possibly eat in your whole life if you were to go to a nutritionist and say, I want to look the way he looks. And I remember I was watching this because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. And I was like, fuck that guy.
So it's aggravating. I get it.
I was sitting here working with Angelo, doing everything you could possibly do to be healthy. I was just trying to not gain weight at a certain point, right? And and here's a guy who's just literally going down it was to your point, life's not fair, right? And I want to say one other thing.
Yeah.
When we first started working together, one of the things that was interesting, it was one of the first things you did that goes back to what you just said before, that the first thing I do is I get my red pen out and I eliminate. And you said something to me that there's 2 things you said to me that were just burned in my brain. Is you said, I'd rather you spend 30 minutes meal prepping than working out, right? And it was it was funny because I got permission at that moment to be oh, I'm just not going to work out today. I'm going to go focus on nutrition. And it was at nighttime, I'd be tired. And I'd be I go to the gym right now. I'm oh, I got to go meal prep. And I would just go meal prep. And that became a priority for me. Above all else was making my lunch for the next day and my snacks so that I was eating out of this Tupperware, like lean meat and broccoli, and even the reason I ended up getting surgery was that I was still doing that. And then slightly tweaked my diet. I was eating 1 ounce of sugar. It was something little, right? And my body just attacked me. But anyway, that was really interesting. The other thing that was I think is one of the tenets of MetPro, to your point, is around specificity based off of the personal needs of the individual, right? Specific to their needs. But this idea of contrast that especially for I think it's and for people that gain muscle, they people especially that really get into working out and putting on mass is around changing up your workouts, right, to create contrast, right? Trick your body. Your body's hell, whoa, he didn't do squats that way before, and I got to balance him differently now, and I'm going to do micro tears and build some muscles up where I didn't have them before to fix them. But which I think people get that from that's not a hard concept to get. I think people have a harder time getting that from a diet standpoint. Because to
Absolutely.
your point, it's a total black box, right? It's like, what do you mean create contrast? How do you create contrast?
Yeah.
Because there's a million and one experts giving you a million and one different ways of doing it, and how do you line it up? So how do you think of these things I just said?
So so you hit the nail on the head. That is the key. And so how do you do that? And the answer is the baseline test. So we stop guessing. So I tell every one of my clients, I mentioned this before, there's no you can't control, I can't control how your body responds any more than either of us can control the color of your eyes. What we can do is we can get the color right. We can say you have brown eyes. We can be right. I don't want to guess. So over the years, the process, and I'm simplifying a bit. There's obviously a little more to it than this. But over the years, we've boiled it down to a process that we call baseline testing at MetPro. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on a meal plan. You're female, 45 years old, you're healthy or fit, you want to, build a little more muscle, or you want to lose 10 pounds of fat, or you want whatever your goal is. I'm going to look at your general demographics, height, weight, body type, history, et cetera, and put you on a baseline meal plan that is not special, that is not unique, that is just straight down the middle, really solid, that I can use to test your body. And this is, again, a little bit of an oversimplification, but really the major tenets of it are this. There's only 3 possible outcomes. You're going to gain weight, you're going to lose weight, you're going to stay the same weight. That's it. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's part's not rocket science. The key is we have to have a baseline to anchor, to determine. So people all the time say to me, I have a fast metabolism. And then I say to them, no, you don't. It's like, is that your opinion? I said, no. It's that I can take my database, because we aggregate declassified data, so it's known as personal data. We aggregate declassified, and I can tell you now, based on body types, based on goals, based on age groups, what average is and what the average person can expect. And by the way, the average swings. It's such a range. But if you have to boil it down, math is math, and there's a center. And I can look at someone and I can say, here's what you're eating. You're eating this many grams of carbs, this many grams of fat, this many grams of protein. I know the glycemic load of the foods you're eating. I know the calorie intake, and I know how frequently and with the meal timing. Here is exactly how your body's responded. You have lost 0.0052% of your body weight in 7 days. Here is how the last 15,000 people of your general demographic, male, 32, whatever, your demographic has responded on the exact same meal plan. Based on that, on average, you have a slower metabolism. Or I get this even more often. My metabolism's really slow. No, it's not. At least not today. So here's the data. Here's how we know that. What I'm looking for is how your body is responding. So that way we're not guessing. We're not wasting time. Because somebody will say this macronutrient ratio or this strategy of nutrition is best. They're not wrong. The question is best for who? Not you. Because I just tested you in, and on that intake, you gained 2 pounds in a week. So what we have to do is we have to figure out where we need to be. Then a more in-depth concept is that concept of contrast. The principle is your metabolism is a moving target, which is why it's so confusing, because it's not staying still. Proof of that is anyone who's done a diet before and then gone back and tried the same diet again in the future.
And your body's like, fuck you.
Your body does not respond the same, let alone respond the same as your neighbor.
Right.
Your body doesn't even respond the same to the same diet you did 2 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Your metabolism is always adapting, but there's light at the end of the tunnel because there's some principles. We're designed to stay alive. So your metabolism is like a carburetor. It's going to tune up or tune down. If you eat less fuel, it's going to slow down to compensate. If you eat more fuel, it's going to increase to rev up. Otherwise, you die. if it can't match a lower intake, if it can't slow down, you'd literally starve to death, even on a minor restrictive diet. If it can't speed up, you would literally gain weight indefinitely if it couldn't acclimate. And so what that does is it creates all these myths, all these misconceptions. And they're well-intentioned. I mean, you see the cover of the Runner's magazine of the couple jogging through the park, and they're healthy and fit, and they say, eat broccoli, speed your metabolism. I love it. That's great. Big fan of broccoli. You want to know who actually have the fastest metabolism on the planet? You ever seen those Discovery Health shows? You've heard me say this before.
Yeah. I'm gonna pretend like I don't know. Who, Angelo?
No, who? Where they're taking the 900-pound man out of his house in a crane. He can't even stand on his own. And then it shows. I mean, that Hollywood's going to have their piece with it. So it shows the fried chicken and the pizza and the this and that he's consuming in one day. But if you want to talk about measuring metabolism, these guys go down to eating 5,000 calories a day. And it's not uncommon for them to lose 10 pounds a day for multiple days in a row. I mean, for our listeners, how many pounds a day would you lose eating 5,000 calories a day? You see, so the point being is our perception of what constitutes a fast or slow metabolism is getting confused with how we define a nutritious or unhealthy diet. Those are both important topics, and there is some crossover, but they really are two separate topics that have to be addressed individually. So the reason that every year when and this is going back when I was coaching physique clients, bodybuilders, physique, the whole 9 yards, every year people would approach me at one of the shows. And they would say, wow, Mr. Poli, your athlete on stage, they're 3% body, but they look amazing, and they'd ask, what do you have in the meeting? And I'd give the tongue-in-cheek answer, the same standard, boiled chicken, brown rice, broccoli, typical bodybuilder answer. And then I'd wait for it. If I ate like that, would I look like them? No, you won't. So here's why. Because there's nothing magical about the boiled chicken, the brown rice, or the broccoli. That's not it. It's the contrast. It's the fact that they spent months and months towing their metabolic rate up, training, eating a little bit more calories, a little more carbohydrates, a little more intake, getting their body used to more and more and more calories. So now when they contest prep and they slash their calories and we readjust their carbs and we drop it down to 1,900 calories of boiled chicken and broccoli, the fat incinerates off of them because, and this part's important, weight loss is not about whether you're eating XYZ calories or whether you're eating any special foods. Weight loss is about whether or not your body is in a state where it perceives contrast. Weight loss is simply, or weight gain, is simply what happens in the duration of time it takes your metabolism to reacclimate to your new intake. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Weight loss or weight gain is not a function of what you eat per se, but rather a function of the weight you gain or lose and the time it takes your body, your metabolism to adjust to the new environment. So this is the coffee table trick. 3 women, they all go on the same diet. It's 1,500 calories a day, just making stuff up. 1,500 calories a day. They all go on the same diet. They're friends. One gains weight, one loses weight, and one stays the same weight. Now for the magic trick. Poof, we can tell you. The one who gained weight was used to eating less than 1,500 calories before she started. The one who lost weight was used to eating more than 1,500 calories before she started. And the one that stayed the same weight was used to about 1,500 calories. Now, I don't want to get too technical here. You can substitute calories with any, you can manipulate carbs, timing, glycemic load. But the principle is that your body's going to respond not based on 1,500 calories. It's going to respond based on what it was previously used to. So that comes full circle to this concept of contrast and how we would diet people.
Mm-hmm.
So Johnny, I want you to eat an apple and 20 almonds at 2:30 every day. Well, why? What is it about the nutrients in the apple? What is it about the almonds? Why is it I'm eating this special food? People want to know these things. There's certain properties in this food. No, it's nothing special. It's there so that way when I take it out 5 weeks from now, I'm going to get a calculable response because your body was used to it being there. It's not some magic formula. It's getting your body used to something so we're in control versus just willy-nilly based on what your metabolism is doing.
Do you think that people choose those more like really bland foods? I'm picking bland and like simplistic because it's way more easy to measure.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I can tell you why I choose certain foods over others. And it's, again, not the answer, most people would expect. Most people say, Mr. Poli, I know who you work with. I need this nutritionist and trainer that's, all these technical programs. And then when they find out my rationale behind why, you know what I'm interested in? Portability and perishability. That's what I'm interested in. Portability and perishability, because those two things are going to actually translate into, in real world, what you're going to actually do and not do and what you can be consistent with.
Interesting.
People ask me this all the time. They say, well, what are your thoughts on snacks frequently throughout the day? Because there's some professionals that say, no, you only eat 3 meals a day. Don't eat when you're not hungry. Don't snack. And then there's other, like a lot of the fitness gurus who say, no, you got to eat every 2.5 hours. If you work with me, you're going to eat snacks for none of the reasons you think. None of those reasons. I don't. I have every one of my clients eat an afternoon snack.
Why?
Because we don't take snacks socially.
Say that again.
We don't eat snacks socially. You don't call up your workmate. Hey, Johnny, down in the department at the end, down in the tech department. Hey, Johnny, let's go grab a bite to eat for lunch. Let's meet at our favorite place around the corner. You don't say, hey, family, we're going to have this for dinner. We're going to get together as a family. Grandma's coming over. We're going to have dinner together. You don't call up people and say, hey, Bob, water cooler. I got half an apple and 12 almonds. What do you say? We don't do that. It's ridiculous. We eat our snacks personally, not socially, which means people will eat what I ask them to. They'll actually do it.
Oh.
I have them have snacks. So when I put a snack there, I know I can anchor to that because it's easy. And it doesn't need to be apple. Now it can be whatever you want. Okay. So we come up with something real simple, but I know I can guarantee that you'll have it because there's not going to be a social issue that's going to get in the way. Whereas what might happen at dinner? You might be having dinner at friend's house and you can apply principles, but you can't measure out and be exact and this, that, and the other. Whereas I can be exact with your snacks. All the other reasons, metabolic benefit, this, that, and the other, there's relevancy and truth to all of those, but they're dwarfed by the real world simple application of the result I can get. It's what a man can do and what a man can't do, what I can do, what I can't do, what a person can and will do, what a person won't do. I had, one of my favorite clients, a gal, she says to me, I'll do anything you tell me, Angelo, if I'll see results, except this. Can I get results around that? Well, the answer is yes, because your body is still used to a certain routine. So if one variable won't change, we might have to get more aggressive, leaning into the other dials. But the more variables that we can be consistent with, the more dials we have, the more control we have. So the bigger that list of things you won't compromise on, the harder it gets. But it doesn't mean that if you have a few non-starters, well, forget it. I can't make progress, because it's just not true. You can't.
What was the one thing that she wouldn't do?
In this case, it was actually the creamer with her coffee. So not a big deal.
Oh, that's easy peasy.
That's easy peasy.
Oh, man. But dude, you're just dropping knowledge. We're just rounding the end of the show here. So look, I mean, obviously you know, you guys have helped 20,000 plus athletes and executives and people and just average people too, just to gain amazing results. I always point people in your guys' direction because I was one of those guys that spent 11 plus years on a diet, ended up doing medical intervention to really get the bigger results. And then, but still I'm a huge fan of your guys' work. Where can people find you guys and what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Just go to metpro.co. It's metpro.co. And you read all about what we do. We have, you know, our main focus is on the high level, high touch consulting. So we work very much hands-on. We actually do a concierge program. Now we have stuff for more the people who are the DIYers, giving them tools and things like that. We have that, but our actual concierge coaching program, it is truly that, because there's 1,000,001 programs out there that are good programs, but they're not trying to be concierge. So when we work with somebody, I tell people this: we're going to get to know you. That's what it really boils down to. We're going to get to know you. We're going to work day in and day out to figure out what works for you, when we need to adjust the nutrition, when we need to adjust the training. And we actually are passionate about what we do. We love working with people. So if you go to the website and it's interesting, schedule yourself for a consultation with one of our specialists. You're not going to talk to someone who's just behind the desk answering the phones, putting you on hold, or pre-recording. You'll actually talk to someone who's gone through the process, who's an expert in what they do, and just tell them about yourself. And he'll share with you, here's others that have been in a similar circumstance. Here's what they found effective. Here's what options would look like for you. A program might look like for you. Is this right for your lifestyle right now? So anyhow, yeah, if you're at all interested in even just learning by reading some articles, go to metpro.co. We would love to have you.
Guys, you heard it from the man. Angelo, I appreciate you so much, man. Seriously.
I love talking, buddy. This was great.
Yeah, no, guys, honestly, Angelo and his team really know what the hell they're doing. And it's a great opportunity to really take a scientific approach. But there's an art and science in this. And I think what you guys do a really great job of is respecting that there is kind of that attention to the detail from what's right for the person. That's the art of it, is, hey, everyone's different and there's some intuition involved. And obviously there's a process baked around that you guys have perfected and do amazing work with. So guys, check out Angelo and the MetPro team at metpro.co. Yeah, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here today.
Always a pleasure, Darius. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Had a great week. We got some more people coming on next week, so follow us. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube, or you could go to my website and just sign up on there at therealdarius.com. That's www.therealdarius.com. With that said, everyone, have a great weekend. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out. We love you. Ouch.